Hello everyone, this is Small Arms Combatives. Today's video is going to be understanding minute of angle. Alright, so let's first of all talk about what a minute of angle is. Minute of angle. So for the rest of this video, we're going to be calling it MOA. MOA stands for minute of angle, okay? Now, we need to have an understanding of this. This video is for our combat rifle students that come. We want to have everyone watch this video before you come to the course. Of course, we're going to cover all this information at the course. It just really helps out that you watch this video to make sure that not all the information hits everyone all at one time. So videos like this can be helpful. There are maybe some things students can do for homework before they come to class, but let's go ahead and start giving an understanding of minute of angle, okay? So basically, here is, like a protractor, okay? We know a protractor is 180 degrees, and that, if we drew a circle here and then flipped it over, we would know that a circle consists of 360 degrees. So the protractor shows us, what 1 degree is, okay? So let's go ahead and imagine this. We have our circle here, and there's the center point of the circle, all right? We know a circle is 360 degrees, okay? All right, so let's take a look and examine at one of these degree increments. So this, from the center point of the circle up to this point here, we're gonna say that this is the 0 degree mark. And then I'm gonna not draw this to scale, but let's just say that that distance right there stands for 1 degree, okay? So that space right there, that angle would be one of these degrees on this protractor here, one degree out of 360 on a circle. All right, so let's kind of expand this a little bit more, okay? All right, so over here, this would be that line. This would be the center point of our circle down here. This right here would be the 0 degree mark, and let's just say that that might be 1 degrees. Okay, this is the arc of the outside perimeter of that circle. Okay, now if we were to divide that 1 degree up into 60 little tiny angles, one of those little tiny angles, okay, one of those little tiny skinny angles there would be 1 minute of angle, okay? So basically, 1 MOA, or 1 minute of angle, equals 1/60th, okay, of a degree. All right? So let's show how this bit of information will help us out, okay? Let's imagine this. All right, let's just say, okay, I have a couple of laser pointers, okay? And I have one laser pointer that's aiming downrange, horizontal to the ground, okay? And let's say that I also have a laser pointer that's angled up just a little bit, okay? Now let's say that the angle between these two laser pointers here is 1 minute of angle. In other words, 1/60th of a degree, okay? That's gonna be the angle between them, all right? Now, let's imagine that these laser pointers are pointing at targets downrange. All right, let's say that we have a target right here, at 25 yards. Let's say that we have a target here at 50 yards. Let's say that we have a target further down range at 100 yards. And let's say, you know, further down range, way down here. This should be about 200 yards. Okay. So let's kind of examine this. All right. So if we're looking at these targets here, let's say we got our target right there at 100 yards, we'd have a laser beam spot here, and we would have a laser beam spot there. The distance between those two spots at 100 yards would be 1 inch. Okay? If we went further down range, and let's say we had our next target, you know, down here, we would have 2 laser beam spots, one here and one there, of course. The distance between those 2 laser beam spots would be 2 inches. So basically 100 yards, 1 inch, 200 yards, 2 inches, and if we kept on going down range, 300 yards, 3 inches, 400 yards, 4 inches, 500 yards, 5 inches. If we got to 1,000 yards, okay, then that would be 10 inches of the distance between those laser beams. Let's back up right here at 50 yards, okay? So we would have our target, once again, there would be 2 laser beam spots on the target. So let's think, if at 100 yards that was 1 inch, then that means at 50 yards it would be half that much. So that means 1 minute of angle would be a ½ inch. Okay? At 25 yards, if we had our target, you'd have 2 laser beam spots, and it would be a ¼ inch distance between those 2 laser beams. All right? So in general, okay, for every 100 yards, it's going to be 1 inch distance. Okay, for every 100 yards, it's going to be 1 inch distance. All right, so how will this help us sight in our rifles? Okay, so let's just say on class day that we have our target where we intend on sighting it in. Now, what we do is we sight in our targets here at 50 yards. Okay, we just do a 50-yard zero. All right, and that's just easier to teach everyone at one time. Okay, but basically, we have a grid here. Okay, all around this target, and these are ½ inch squares. Okay, so if we shoot at 50 yards, what is 1 minute of angle? Well, let's go back to this sheet right here. We're going to be sighting our rifles in at 50 yards, so 1 minute of angle will equal a ½ inch. So that means if these squares here are a ½ inch, then that means each of these squares are going to be worth 1 minute of angle. Okay? So let's say that we are shooting and we just shot, you know, some rounds. Okay, so there's our first round. Let's say there's our second round. There's our third round. Let's just say that that's what the group looked like after our shooter just got done shooting. Okay, so we're assuming that hopefully the shooter was holding center of the circle. We're gonna have to adjust the sights on this rifle so that that bullet impact comes left and up. Okay, so let's go ahead and count how many squares, in other words, how many minute of angle we have to make that adjustment. Okay, So I'm going to look at the center of the group there, and I would say the center of the group would be right there where that pen tip is. So what we need to do is we need to adjust the sight so that bullet impact comes 1, 2, 3 minutes left. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. 3 minutes of angle left. Okay, so I'm going to put an L for that. And now we're going to count up. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that would be 4 minutes of angle up. Okay, so in order for us to make these adjustments, okay, on our weapon here, we're going to have to do some things. Okay, we're going to have to do some things. We need to know our adjustments on the sights of a rifle. So in this case, this is the part where I need everyone before you come to class to look at your owner's manual of the sights that you got, and I want you to understand, okay, which adjustment your sight is. Okay, so let's talk about this. Kind of peel that away real quick. All right, it's very important that you have a nice set of sights, so don't cheap out on your sights. It just becomes more difficult to sight your rifle in if you have a cheap set of sights. That means the adjustments are not going to be true and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so on a rifle, and I'm just kind of draw one real quick. You know, here's the grip. You got your rear sight here, your receiver coming out. You know, you got your hand guard. There's your barrel. Somewhere out here is going to be your front sight. Okay, so down here is your front sight. Right here is our rear sight. Now, some people may have, you know, like optic on their rifle, where there's a couple sets of turrets that you turn. Okay, either way, they are still adjusted the same way. Now, for the AR-15, M16, M4 families of rifles, okay, these adjustments might be maybe a tad bit different depending on what kind of sight that you typically have. But when you look down on that sight, okay, it will have an arrow and it'll say up. Okay, when you turn the sight in there, okay, whichever way you turn it, okay, what that means is it moves that bullet impact up. Okay, so if we look right here, we needed to move our sight 4 minutes of angle up. Okay, that's what we needed to do. So typically you would have to understand your specific manufacturer, but let's just say that on my specific rifle, okay, one click on that front sight is going to equal 1.25 minutes of angle. Okay, so if we needed to come up 4 minutes of angle, okay, if we click this 3 times, then of course that would be 3 3/4 minutes moving that up. That's going to get us pretty close to the 4 minutes that we need. Okay, now that might limit how accurate our sight is to get it, center of that circle, but that'll give us, pretty close. Okay, so if that's what it's worth, that's what it's worth. Okay, So on the rear sight, okay, on a lot of AR-15s and stuff like that, there's going to be a knob on that rear sight, and there's going to be an arrow, and it says probably something like an R, okay? Well, one click typically could either mean half MOA adjustment or a quarter MOA adjustment. So let's just say on your typical rifle, maybe it is a half-minute adjustment. Okay, so we needed to move our bullet impact to the left 3 minutes of angle. Well, that means we would need to turn it the other way, okay, because the other way would be left. And let's say that every single click is a half minute, okay? How many half-minute clicks are in 3 MOA left? That'll be 6, okay? Because if you think about it, if we're here, okay, and we click that a half minute, it's only going to move half that square there. So there's once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 clicks, okay? So 6 clicks will equal 3 MOA on that particular rifle, let's just say. All right, so then hopefully after we have made our adjustments, we would be hitting right there center, okay? All right, let's talk about the scope now. And so on a scope, typically you have a windage knob kind of on the side, and you have an elevation knob on the top, okay? So look at your scope manufacturer, and you need to tell, you know, whether or not it is half MOA click or quarter MOA click. Okay, you'll be the one to decide that. But anyways, let's just say that the rifle is quarter MOA clicks, so both for windage and elevation. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back here. We know that we need to adjust our sights 3 minutes of angle left and 4 MOA up. Now we just said that our scope or our dot sight, whichever we have, we just said that those are 1/4 MOAs per click. That slash means per, just letting you know, okay? All right, so what we want to know is how many clicks we need to move it 3 MOA left and 4 MOA up, okay? So if it takes 4 clicks to make it a minute of angle, and we got 3 MOA to go, then we're gonna do 3 times 4, and of course that equals 12, okay? Because if you think about it, 1 click only is going to move this a quarter MOA. That means it's only going to move it a quarter of one of these squares. So if we think about it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 clicks to the left will give us 3 MOA on that rifle. All right, now we need to come 4 minutes of angle up, okay? So once again, if this is a quarter MOA per click scope, okay, that means that once again, in order for us to move one of these squares, which is a minute of angle, we need to click 4 times to get 1 minute, but we got 4 minutes to move. So 4 times 4 is 16. So that means we need to come up 16 clicks. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1 MOA. 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's 3, 13, 14, 15, 16 clicks is 4 minutes of angle up. All right, so hopefully this will help everyone out. Before you come to our range day, this will kind of give you an idea. Basically, the point of this video was to make you look at your owner's manual for your rifle or your scope and figure out how many clicks your rifle is. and in that way, that'll help you not have to try to figure that out in case you left your owner's manual or something at home. Okay, this if you've decided that you would like to take a class with us, please make sure that you go ahead on and you buy like a quality dot sight. If you want a red dot, go and get you something like an Aimpoint or like a Trijicon or something like that. If you get a scope, go on and get like a really nice scope. Get like a Leupold or like a Night Force, something that whenever you make your adjustments, okay, it just makes it a lot easier to sight your rifle in when you have a scope that actually works, okay? Another thing to keep in mind is, let's say you bolt on your own sights, okay, and or your own scope, make sure it's not loose. So if it screws on, make sure that those screws are Loctited, okay? If you have a scope, typically scope mounts mount with about 65 inch-pounds of torque, okay? Which is fairly tight, by the way. So one of the biggest problems we have, people come out and they're trying to sight in their rifles and they're a little bit all over the place, and I've examined their marksmanship is just fine. So what we started doing is, before we do any shooting at all, we wiggle everything on that rifle, the barrels, the receivers, the sights, the scopes, and we're gonna make sure that none of that stuff is loose, because it will come loose, okay? So I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I hope this information was helpful to you. Over and out.